The alarm screamed through every corridor of the horizon's edge, ran down the metal hallway, his boots clanging against the floor. Red lights flashed everywhere. His heart pounded in his chest. Reactor 3 is overheating, someone shouted over the communication system. Was the chief engineer on this space station. He had worked here for 5 years, keeping the systems running far from Earth. The station floated in deep space, where humans tested new engines and studied the stars. Nothing like this had ever happened before. He reached the reactor room and saw his team already there. Lee stood at the main console, her fingers moving fast across the controls. She was the weapons specialist, but right now they needed everyone who understood how things worked. "How bad is it?" asked. Lee looked at him with worried eyes. "The fuel rods are unstable. If they explode inside the reactor, they'll destroy the whole station. We have maybe 10 minutes. Looked at the readings on the screen. The numbers were all wrong. The fuel rods were heating up too fast. They needed to get them out of the reactor, but the normal ejection system was broken. "Can we fix the ejection system?" he asked. "No time," Lee said. "The controls are fried." Another woman rushed into the room. It was Dr. Park, the chief scientist. She was smart, maybe the person on the station. She looked at the screens and understood the problem immediately. "We need to get those rods away from the station," Park said, "fast and far." "The ejection system is dead," told her. Park thought for a moment. Then she looked at Lee. "What about the magnetic accelerator, the one you were testing for the new propulsion system?" Lee's eyes went wide. "That's not designed for this. It's meant to push small test objects." "Fuel rods are objects," Park said. "Can you point it at the fuel storage?" Understood what they were thinking. The magnetic accelerator was a device that used powerful magnets to push things very fast. Lee had been testing it to see if they could use it to help ships move faster in space, but it had never been used for anything important. "It might work," Lee said slowly, "but I'd have to rewire the whole system, connect it to the fuel rod chamber." "How long?" asked. 7 minutes, maybe 8. "Do it," Park said. "We don't have another choice." Lee ran to the equipment room, followed her. They grabbed cables and tools. Their hands moved fast. There was no time to think, only to work. Lee opened panels and connected wires, helped her, following her instructions. The alarm kept screaming. The temperature of the fuel rods kept rising. 5 minutes, someone called over the radio. "Almost there," Lee said. Sweat dripped down her face. She connected the last cable. The magnetic accelerator hummed to life, could feel the vibration through the floor. They ran back to the control room. Park was already calculating the trajectory. She needed to make sure the fuel rods would fly away from the station, not toward it. "Ready?" Park asked. "Ready," Lee said, her hand over the activation button. 3 minutes until explosion, the computer announced. "Do it now," said. Lee pressed the button. The whole station shook. A deep sound like thunder rolled through the metal walls. On the screens, they could see the fuel rods shooting out of the storage chamber. The magnetic accelerator pushed them with incredible force. The rods flew into space, getting smaller and smaller on the screen. They moved fast, very fast. "Did it work?" Lee asked. They watched the screens. The fuel rods were far away now, still moving. Then they exploded, a bright flash in the darkness of space, but they were far enough away. The explosion didn't hurt the station. Everyone let out a breath. They were safe. Park looked at her instruments. Her face changed. She looked confused, then surprised. "That's impossible," she said quietly. "What?" asked. Park pointed at the speed readings. The fuel rods were moving at 3% of light speed when they exploded. Lee stared at the numbers. "That can't be right. The accelerator shouldn't be that powerful." But the numbers didn't lie. Somehow, the magnetic accelerator had pushed the fuel rods incredibly fast. faster than any human-made object had ever moved before. Felt a strange feeling in his stomach. They had just done something new, something no one had done before. "We need to report this," Park said. She was already recording the data. Over the next few hours, they checked everything. The numbers were correct. The magnetic accelerator, when pushed to maximum power, could launch objects at a small fraction of light speed. It was an accident, something they had never planned. But it worked. Lee sat down and thought about what this meant. "This could be a weapon," she said slowly. "If we can throw something that fast, nothing could stop it." Park nodded. Energy shields work against lasers and plasma, but a physical object moving that fast, it would go right through. Felt excited and scared at the same time. Humans had been part of the galactic community for only 20 years. The aliens had taught them about energy weapons and shields. Everyone in the galaxy used the same kind of technology, but this was different. This was something new. "We should tell Earth," said. Park sent the report to Earth. She also sent it to the automated data relay that all space stations used. The relay sent information to the Galactic Council so they could monitor human activities. It was part of the agreement when humans joined the galactic community. Humans were still considered young and had to share their research. The report went out into space, traveling through the communication network. On the station, life went back to normal. They fixed the reactor. They cleaned up the damage, and Lee wrote up their accident report. But something felt different. Noticed it first. The daily check-in from the trading ship didn't come. They always checked in. They loved to talk and trade. Then the message from the administrator didn't arrive. They were very exact about schedules. They never missed a communication. Park noticed it too. "The alien channels are quiet," she said, "all of them." They checked the communication logs. Nothing. The aliens had stopped talking. Looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, in the vast darkness, the alien empires had received their report, and for some reason they had all gone silent at the same time. He didn't know why yet, but he knew it meant something big, something that would change everything. Commander sat in the captain's chair of the New Dawn, humanity's first deep space exploration vessel. He had been watching the communication screens for the past 2 hours. Something was very wrong. "Still nothing?" he asked. Sung, the junior officer at the communication station, shook his head. "No, sir. Not a single transmission from any alien source. It's been 14 hours now." Frowned. In the 3 years since New Dawn had been traveling through space, the communication channels were always busy. The merchants sent trading offers every day. The bureaucrats sent updates about galactic regulations every week. Even the distant empire sent occasional greetings. But now there was only silence. "Check the equipment again," ordered. Sung ran through all the diagnostics. "Everything is working perfectly, sir. Our equipment is fine. They're just not transmitting." Diplomat entered the bridge. She was responsible for maintaining good relationships with the alien species. Her job had suddenly become very difficult. "I've tried to contact all of our established friends in the council," she said. "The trade representative, the diplomatic office, even the cultural exchange program. Nobody is responding." "Not even the asked. They loved to talk. They would chat about anything, anytime. Their silence was especially strange." "Nothing," confirmed. She looked worried. "I've been doing this job for 5 years. I've never seen anything like this. It's as if they all decided to ignore us at the exact same time." Sung suddenly sat up straight. "Sir, I'm detecting movement, multiple alien fleet signatures." Moved to look at the long-range sensors. Sung was right. There were ships moving out there, many ships. "Where are they going?" asked. Sung worked on the calculations. His face went pale. "Sir, they're moving to create a perimeter around human space, all of them." Came to look at the display. The sensor data showed fleet movements from multiple alien empires. Even the reclusive Shen. They were all moving their border defense forces, but they weren't moving toward each other. They were moving to surround the areas where humans lived. "This is a blockade," said quietly. "They're boxing us in." Had been a military officer before becoming an explorer. He knew what military positioning looked like. This was definitely a defensive formation. But why? "What did we do?" Sung asked. "Did someone attack an alien ship, break a treaty?" "I would have heard about it," said. "Earth Command would have told me." Thought about the situation. The silence started suddenly. The military movements were coordinated. This wasn't a random event. Something had triggered this response from every alien empire at once. "Contact Earth," he ordered. "Find out if anything unusual happened in the last day." While Sung worked on the transmission to Earth, noticed another ship on the sensors. A small transport vessel coming from the direction of the Horizon's Edge station. "Hail that ship," he said. The screen flickered and showed two faces, and Lee, both wearing worried expressions. "Commander," said, "we were ordered to return to Earth immediately. Military priority." "Why?" asked. Lee glanced at before answering. "We had an accident on the station. We created something new, a magnetic accelerator that can launch objects at a fraction of light speed." Felt a chill run down his spine. "A weapon." "We didn't mean it to be," said. "It was an emergency. We were trying to save the station. But yes, it could be used as a weapon." "When did this happen?" asked, stepping closer to the screen. "About 16 hours ago," Lee said. 16 hours, right before the aliens went silent. "The data was sent to the Galactic Council," continued. "It's standard procedure. We have to report all our research." Understood now. The aliens had seen the report. They had learned that humans had created a new kind of weapon, and they had all reacted at once. "Thank you," said. "Continue to Earth. We need to figure out what's happening." The screen went dark, looked at. "This is bad." "Very bad," she agreed. "The aliens are scared of us. That's the only explanation for this kind of response." Sung interrupted them. "Sir, I'm picking up a transmission. It's encrypted, but it's using an old alien protocol. I think it's leaking through from their military channels." "Can you decode it?" asked. Sung worked for several minutes. "Got it. It's just a fragment, but here it is." A voice, translated by the computer, filled the bridge. The words were cold and formal. "The kinetic throwers have emerged. Protocols Terra 9 through Terra 14 are now active. All fleets maintain defensive positions. Do not engage unless provoked. Monitor continuously." The transmission ended. "Kinetic throwers," Sung said. "They mean us." "They have protocols," said slowly. "Protocols with Earth's name in them. Terra is Earth. They have had plans ready for this specific situation." Felt anger rising in his chest. "They've been watching us, waiting for us to develop this specific technology. Why?" "Because they're afraid of it," said. "Energy weapons, plasma cannons, laser batteries, the aliens taught us about all of those. They even shared some of their shield technology. But this, a kinetic weapon, they never mentioned it. Not once." Sung looked confused. "Why would they be afraid of something that just throws objects? We can already shoot missiles." "Speed," said, understanding. "Missiles move slow compared to light. You can track them, shoot them down. But something moving at 3% of light speed, there's no time to react. And if shields are designed to deflect energy, a physical object would go right through," finished, "like a bullet through paper." They all sat in silence for a moment, thinking about what this meant. "We need more information," said Sung. "Keep monitoring all channels. Record everything, even fragments. Try to find any historical records about kinetic weapons in the galactic database. There must be a reason they fear this so much." "What are you going to do?" asked. Looked at the display showing the alien fleets surrounding human space. "I'm going to set a course for Earth. We need to be there for whatever happens next. The New Dawn turned and began accelerating toward home. Behind them, the alien fleets continued their silent watch. In his heart, knew that the relationship between humanity and the galactic community had changed forever. The accident on the horizon's edge had revealed something the aliens wanted to keep hidden. Now humans knew they had created something powerful, something that scared entire empires. Sung's voice broke the silence. "Sir, I'm detecting more transmissions. The fleets are communicating with each other. They're coordinating." "What are they saying?" asked. "I can't decode most of it," Sung said. "But one phrase keeps repeating. I think it translates to containment formation or maybe quarantine circle." Closed her eyes. "They're treating us like a disease, something dangerous that needs to be isolated." Gripped the armrest of his chair. Humanity had reached for the stars, hopping to find friends and allies. They had learned alien languages, traded goods, shared culture. And now, because of one accident, all of that was falling apart. But he also felt something else. Pride. Humans had created something new, something that none of the advanced alien races had expected. Maybe they were more capable than the galaxy thought. The New Dawn flew through space toward Earth, carrying news that would change everything. Ho brushed red dust off an ancient stone tablet. He had been working in the Mars ruins for 6 months, and every day he found something new. The ruins were old, incredibly old, much older than human civilization. His radio crackled. "Doctor, you have an urgent message from Earth Defense Command." Ho frowned. Earth Defense Command never contacted archaeologists. What do they want? "They're ordering you to return to Earth immediately. Maximum priority. A ship is already on its way to pick you up." This was very unusual. Ho looked around the dig site. He had just found a new chamber last week. There was so much more to discover. "Did they say why?" he asked. "No, sir, just that it's urgent." 2 days later, Ho sat in a conference room deep under the Earth Defense Command headquarters. With him was Dr. Park, who he recognized from news reports about the Horizon's Edge incident. Also present was Admiral Wan, the head of Earth's military forces, and several other officials. "Thank you for coming, Doctor," Admiral Wan said. "We need your expertise." "I study old ruins," Ho said. "What does that have to do with military matters?" Park leaned forward. "Tell him about the warnings." Ho felt uncomfortable. The warnings were supposed to be classified. He had reported them months ago, but had heard nothing back. "On Mars, in the ruins, I found inscriptions," Ho began. "They're written in multiple languages, at least 7 different alien languages that we know of, plus some we don't recognize." "What do they say?" Admiral Wan asked. Ho pulled up images on the screen. Ancient symbols glowed under the lights. "They all say the same basic thing with slight variations. The clearest translation is, when they learn to throw stars, do not engage, run, hide, pray they do not find you." The room went quiet. "Throw stars," Park said softly. "Kinetic weapons, objects moving at incredible speeds like shooting stars." "I think so," Ho agreed. "But I don't know who they refers to. The inscriptions are at least 50,000 years old, maybe older." Admiral Wan looked troubled. "We thought the warnings referred to some ancient threat, but now, with what happened at Horizon's Edge, we're wondering if the warnings are about us, about humans." "That doesn't make sense," Ho said. "Humans didn't exist 50,000 years ago, not as a space-faring civilization." "The warnings might not be about humans specifically," Park said. "They might be about any species that develops kinetic weapons, a warning left for future civilizations." Ho thought about this. It made a horrible kind of sense. The aliens who wrote the warnings had seen something terrible, something involving kinetic weapons, and they wanted to warn others. "There's more," Ho said. "In the deepest chamber I found something else. A historical record, I think. It talks about a a war that destroyed hundreds of worlds. He pulled up more images. These showed star maps and what looked like battle records. The records call it the scattering, Ho continued. An ancient civilization called the Precursors had reached incredible technological heights. They had energy weapons, shields, faster-than-light travel. They were peaceful for thousands of years. What changed? Admiral Wan asked. They discovered kinetic acceleration, Ho said. The ability to throw objects at a significant fraction of light speed. At first, they used it for peaceful purposes, moving asteroids, building megastructures. But then there was a political split. Two factions formed, and when the war started, he trailed off, looking at the images. They showed destruction on a scale hard to imagine. Park picked up the explanation. I've been cross-referencing Doctor's findings with the Galactic database. There's very little information available, but what exists matches his discoveries. The Precursors used kinetic weapons to destroy planets. They would accelerate asteroids or metal rods to near-light speed and launch them across solar systems. The targets had no defense. Energy shields couldn't stop them. Point defense weapons couldn't track them. Entire worlds were shattered. How did it end? Someone asked. They destroyed themselves, Ho said. The war escalated until both sides were firing at each other's home worlds. By the time it ended, the Precursors were extinct. Most of their territory was uninhabitable. It took the galaxy millions of years to recover. Admiral Wan stood up and walked to the window. So the current Galactic Council, all the alien empires we know, they're the descendants of the survivors, the species that learned to avoid this technology. More than that, Park said, I think they've been actively preventing it. Look at the technology they've shared with us. Energy weapons, plasma drives, shield generators, all of it follows a very specific development path, a safe path. Ho understood. They've been guiding us, making sure we develop the right kind of technology. But we found it anyway, Park said. By accident, we discovered the one thing they've spent trying to prevent any new species from developing. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. We need to understand more, Admiral Wan said. Doctor, is there anything else in the Mars ruins? Any information about how the current council formed? How they've managed to prevent this from happening again? Ho thought about the unopened chambers, the sections he hadn't fully translated yet. There might be. I need to go back and look specifically for that information. Do it, Admiral Wan ordered. Take whoever you need. This is now the highest priority research project we have. Over the next week, Ho and his expanded team worked day and night in the Mars ruins. They found more records, more history. The picture became clearer. After the Precursor War, the surviving civilizations had formed a pact. They called it the Directed Path. Every new species that developed space travel would be guided along a specific technological route. Energy-based weapons only. Shields designed to stop energy. Faster-than-light drives that followed precise mathematical rules. Any species that started developing kinetic weapons would be stopped, either through trade agreements that made other technologies more attractive, or through direct intervention if necessary. The protocols that Commander had intercepted, Terra 9 through Terra 14, those were the intervention plans. Plans to contain or eliminate any species that rediscovered the forbidden technology. They've been preparing to destroy us, Ho said, reading the ancient texts that described similar situations from the past. If we had developed this deliberately, if we had shown aggressive intent, the protocols would have activated immediately. Park looked at the military readouts showing the alien fleets surrounding human space. They're deciding right now, trying to figure out if we're a threat or just lucky fools who stumbled onto something dangerous. What do we do? Someone asked. Admiral Wan had been listening quietly. We make sure they know we're not the Precursors. We're not going to shatter worlds. But we also need to make them understand that we won't be contained like animals in a cage. Ho looked at the ancient warnings on the stone tablets. 50,000 years ago, a civilization had become so powerful and so destructive that they had nearly ended all life in the galaxy. And now, humanity had rediscovered their most terrible weapon. The question was simple but profound. Would humans repeat that ancient mistake, or would they prove they could be trusted with such power? Park had an idea. We need to show them something, a demonstration that proves we understand the responsibility of what we've created. What kind of demonstration? Admiral Wan asked. I'm not sure yet, Park admitted. But whatever we do, it needs to be big enough that the entire galaxy pays attention. We need to show them who we really are. Ho looked at the images of destroyed worlds, the legacy of the precursor war. Humanity stood at a crossroads. The path they chose now would determine their future, and possibly the future of every species in the galaxy. Admiral Wan stood before the United Earth Council, facing angry and frightened leaders from every nation. The debate had been going on for 3 hours. You want to build a weapon that terrifies the entire galaxy, the European representative shouted. That's madness. I want to build a demonstration, Wan corrected calmly, to show the aliens that we can be trusted with this technology. The Asian representative shook his head. How does building a bigger version of the thing that scared them show that we can be trusted? Wan had expected this reaction. Because we'll show them we can control it. We'll fire it at an empty asteroid in neutral space. No threats. No weapons pointed at anyone. Just a clear demonstration that we understand what we have and we're not afraid of it. Park stepped forward to support him. The aliens are afraid because we stumbled onto this technology by accident. They're wondering if we understand what it means. If we hide it, if we act scared, they'll think we're either dangerous or weak. Either way, they might decide to eliminate the threat. And if we show them we can build a real weapon, someone asked, won't that make it worse? They already know we can build it, Wan said. The data from Horizon's Edge showed them the basic principles. Any empire in the galaxy could replicate our work if they wanted to. The question isn't whether the technology exists. The question is whether humanity can be responsible with it. The debate continued, but eventually Wan got his approval. The vote was close, but enough leaders agreed that doing nothing was more dangerous than acting. Lee was given command of the engineering project. She stood on the moon's surface, looking at the construction site. Hundreds of workers and robots were building the battery. It would be 10 times more powerful than the accidental device on Horizon's Edge. Joined her carrying data tablets. The targeting systems are almost ready. We can hit a target the size of a building from 40 million kilometers away. That's terrifying, Lee said quietly. Yes, agreed, but it's also amazing we built this. Humans built this. Lee looked at the massive magnetic accelerators, the power generators, the cooling systems. It was beautiful in a way, a triumph of human engineering. But she couldn't forget what Ho had shown them, images of shattered worlds, destroyed by weapons like this one. Do you think we're doing the right thing? She asked. Was quiet for a moment. I think we're doing the only thing we can. The aliens are watching us. If we hide, they'll see weakness. If we threaten them, they'll see danger. We need to show strength and control at the same time. Over the next month, it took shape. It was mounted on the moon's far side, aimed away from Earth. The power systems could draw energy directly from a dedicated fusion reactor. When fully charged, it could accelerate a 1-ton projectile to 5% of light speed. But as the construction progressed, other things were happening in space. Sat at her monitoring station, tracking deep space signals. She was young, just out of university, but she had a gift for finding patterns in data. And right now, the patterns terrified her. Sir, you need to see this, she called to her supervisor. The display showed fleet movements. 37 different alien fleets from a dozen different empires, all moving toward human space. They're converging, her supervisor said, his voice shaking. All of them. This isn't a blockade anymore. When will they arrive? Asked. At current speed, 4 weeks, maybe less. The news reached Earth within hours. The aliens weren't just watching anymore. They were coming. Commander was called to an emergency meeting. Admiral Wan was there, along with Park, diplomat and military leaders from around the world. They're preparing to attack, a general said, pointing at the fleet positions. This is an invasion force. Or an extermination force, someone else added grimly. Had been studying the alien communications that had intercepted. It's not unanimous. I'm seeing debates in the channels. Some of them want to make contact, not war, but they're being overruled. By who? One asked. The older empires said. The Shen, the ones who have been around the longest. They remember the precursor war, or at least they remember the stories. They're the ones pushing for preventive action. They want to destroy us before we become a threat, said. Park looked at the timeline. The test is scheduled in 2 weeks. We could move it up. Or cancel it, someone suggested. Show them we're backing down. No, Juan said firmly. If we cancel now out of fear, we're admitting we can't control this technology. That will make them more afraid, not less. So we fire a weapon while an armada is approaching Earth, a general asked. That seems like a good way to start a war. We're firing at an empty asteroid, Juan corrected. Not at them. If they attack us for that, then they were always going to attack us anyway. The decision was made. The test would proceed as planned, but now it wasn't just a demonstration of technology. It was a statement to the galaxy. Lee and worked around the clock to finish the ahead of schedule. Every news channel on Earth showed the construction. Humanity watched and waited. On the day of the test, made another discovery. She had been monitoring the communications, trying to decode their internal debates. There's a faction, she reported, led by someone named. They're arguing that humanity should be given a chance. They're saying the directed path was never meant to be enforced by violence. Are they winning the argument? Asked hopefully. No, admitted. But they're not giving up. If we can show them something, give them ammunition for their argument. Then the test is even more important, Juan said. The was ready. The target was selected, an uninhabited asteroid in neutral space, far from any planet or station. The asteroid was mostly iron and rock, about 2 kilometers wide. It had no value to anyone. Lee stood at the firing control, monitored the targeting systems. Admiral Wan was there, along with representatives from every major government on Earth. The entire world watched on screens. In space, the alien fleets had stopped their approach. They were watching too. All systems green, reported. Target locked. Power at maximum, Lee said. Ready to fire on your command, Admiral. Wan took a deep breath. In a few moments, humanity would cross a line. There would be no going back. Fire, he ordered. Lee pressed the button. The fired with a flash of electromagnetic energy. The 1-ton projectile, a simple rod of dense metal, shot out of the magnetic accelerators. It moved so fast that it appeared to vanish instantly. For 6 minutes, everyone waited. The projectile crossed 40 million kilometers of space. No one could track it. It was moving too fast. Then the sensors showed a bright flash. The asteroid exploded. Not just broke apart, completely disintegrated. One moment it existed, the next it was a cloud of dust and debris. The power of the impact had turned solid rock into vapor. On Earth, people stared at their screens in silence. They had just seen a demonstration of incredible power, power to destroy worlds. But more importantly, the aliens had seen it too. In space, every alien fleet stopped moving, completely stopped. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, one by one, the fleets began to change course. Not toward Earth, backward, they were retreating. Couldn't believe what she was seeing. They're pulling back, all of them. But the silence remained. No communications, no explanations, just the slow withdrawal of 37 fleets. Sat down heavily. We did it, we scared them away. Or we just started a countdown, said grimly. They might be going back to gather more forces. Nobody knew for sure, but humanity had made its statement. They had shown the galaxy that they could build a weapon that all conventional defenses, and they had shown they could control it, firing only at an empty rock. Now they would wait to see how the galaxy responded. The silence lasted for 3 days. 3 days of watching alien fleets withdraw to their original positions. 3 days of no communication. 3 days of Earth holding its breath. Then on the 4th day, a message arrived. Was the first to detect it. The transmission was different from normal alien communications. It was encrypted, but deliberately easy to break, as if the sender wanted humans to read it but didn't want others to know they had sent it. I've got something, she called out. A message from the fleets. It's addressed to Earth Defense Command. Admiral Wan, diplomat, and commander gathered around her station. The message was translating itself on the screen. Greetings to the humans of Earth. I am representative of the Reform faction. I speak without authority of my government, but with support of many who believe the directed path has become a cage, not a guide. You have shown you possess the ancient technology. Now you face a choice. The message continued, explaining what the humans had already guessed. The Galactic Council was divided. Some wanted to destroy Earth before humans could threaten anyone. Others wanted to isolate humanity, keeping them contained in their own solar system forever. Both options meant the end of humanity's dreams of exploring the galaxy. But there is a third option, the message said. Prove you are not the precursors. Prove you can be trusted. Many of us want to believe in you, but we need evidence to convince the fearful majority. The message ended with a warning. You have perhaps 1 month. After that, the conservative faction will win. They will come with enough force to ensure Earth cannot resist. Choose wisely. Admiral Wan called an emergency meeting of Earth's leaders. They gathered in the same conference room where Ho had first explained the precursor war. We have a month to prove ourselves, Wan said. The question is how. Ho had been studying more records from the Mars ruins. The precursors failed because they used their power to dominate. They hoarded the technology, made themselves the strongest force in the galaxy. Everyone else became their subjects or their enemies. So we do the opposite, someone asked. We give up the technology. No, Park said firmly. That would just show we're weak, or worse, that we know we can't be trusted with it. Had been thinking about this for days. We need to change the conversation. Right now, the aliens are asking, will humans use this weapon against us? We need to make them ask a different question. What question? Asked. What if everyone had this technology? Said. What if we shared it freely, so no one empire had an advantage over the others? The room erupted in arguments. Share humanity's most powerful discovery. Give it to potential enemies. Wan raised his hand for silence. Let her finish. Continued. The Galactic Council has been controlling everyone through the directed path. They decide what technology is safe, what is dangerous. They've created a system where certain empires stay powerful because they learned these technologies first, and everyone else has to follow the approved route. That's not peace. That's control through fear. You're talking about overthrowing the entire galactic order, someone said. I'm talking about freedom, replied. The freedom for every species to develop their own technology their own way. But with that freedom comes responsibility, and we can lead by example. Park saw where this was going. A new compact, not based on restricting technology but on mutual defense. If everyone has access to powerful weapons, no one can dominate anyone else. Mutually assured destruction, said. That's what kept Earth from destroying itself during the nuclear age. It's more than that, Ho added. It's about trust. The directed path is based on not trusting anyone with dangerous knowledge. We're proposing something based on trusting everyone with that knowledge, but holding each other accountable. The debate went on for hours. Some thought it was too risky, others thought it was humanity's only chance. Finally, Admiral Wan made a decision. "We'll do it," he said, "but we need to make the gesture count. It can't just be a promise. It has to be real." Lee was brought into the planning. "You want me to what?" she asked, not believing what she was hearing. "Broadcast the complete specifications," Wan repeated. "Every detail. Make it available to everyone in the galaxy." "That's insane," Lee said. "We'd be arming every empire with the weapon that scares them." "That's exactly the point," Wan said. "If everyone has it, no one has a unique advantage, and we'll be the ones who gave it to them freely. That's the proof asked for." Supported the plan. "It's brilliant in a way. We're calling their bluff. If the Council truly believes this technology is too dangerous for anyone to have, then no one will accept it. But if they take it, they're admitting the directed path was about control, not safety." Lee thought about the weapon she had built, the power to shatter asteroids, to destroy worlds, and now they wanted to give that power to everyone. "What stops someone from using it for war?" she asked. "The same thing that stops anyone from using any weapon for war," Wan said. "The knowledge that everyone else has the same weapon, and will propose something else, a mutual defense treaty. Any empire that uses kinetic weapons for aggression will face a united response from everyone else." It was a gamble, a huge gamble, but it was the only way forward that didn't end in either humanity's destruction or eternal isolation. The broadcast was prepared carefully. Lee would present the technical specifications, would deliver the political message. Admiral Wan would announce Earth's proposed compact. On the day of the broadcast, every communication channel in human space was activated. The message would reach every corner of the galaxy. Lee appeared on screen first. She stood in front of the lunar, the weapon that had changed everything. "I am Lee, Chief Engineer of the Kinetic Acceleration Project," she began. "What we created was an accident. We were trying to save lives, not develop a weapon. But we understand what we have made. We understand the fear it has caused." She pulled up the technical diagrams. "Here are the complete specifications for the magnetic configurations, the power requirements, the targeting algorithms, everything you need to build your own. We are sharing this information freely with all species, all empires, all civilizations." Then stepped forward. "I am speaking on behalf of Earth's government. We refuse to be the only ones with this technology. We refuse to be seen as a threat that must be contained or destroyed. Instead, we offer a choice." She outlined the proposal. Open access to all technology for all species. No more directed path. No more artificial restrictions. But in return, a commitment to mutual defense. Any species that used advanced weapons for aggression would face unified opposition. "We're proposing a galaxy based on trust and mutual accountability," said. "Not a galaxy based on fear and control." Admiral Wan delivered the final message. "This is not a negotiation. This is not a threat. This is humanity saying we will not be caged. We will explore the stars. We will develop our own future. But we invite everyone to do the same. Together, we can be stronger than any council that rules through fear." The broadcast ended. The complete technical specifications for they were uploaded to every accessible network. Within hours, every empire in the galaxy had access to the information. Then the waiting began. For 2 days there was silence. Then the responses started coming. The first was from faction. "You are either the bravest species in the galaxy or the most foolish, but we support you. The directed path has held us back for too long." More messages followed. Some were angry, accusing humanity of recklessness. Some were cautious, asking for clarification. but some were supportive. Younger species, ones who had chafed under the Council's restrictions, saw this as an opportunity. The Reform faction grew stronger. They used humanity's gesture as proof that the old ways needed to change. Not all the alien fleets. Some stayed at the borders of human space, watching. But they didn't attack. They couldn't, not without looking like the aggressors against a species that had just shared its greatest weapon with everyone. Slowly, carefully, the galactic order began to shift. Within a year, 17 species had signed Earth's Mutual Defense Compact. They officially joined, their government having replaced the conservative leadership with reformers. Others followed. The old Galactic Council didn't disappear, but its power to control technology development was broken. Species were free to choose their own paths again. Stood on the moon, looking at it hadn't been fired since the test. It had become a symbol instead of a weapon, a reminder of the day humanity changed the galaxy. Lee joined him. "Do you think we did the right thing?" "Ask me in 100 years," said with a smile. "Right now, all I know is we're still alive and we're still free." Commander took the New Dawn out on a new mission, this time with a mixed crew including and 2 other species. They were exploring together, as equals. Diplomat worked in the new Galactic Assembly, a replacement for the old Council. It was messier, louder, with more arguments, but it was also more fair. Ho continued his work on Mars, but now he had help from alien archaeologists. Together, they were documenting the precursor war, making sure its lessons were never forgotten. Admiral Wan, now retired, looked at reports of the new galaxy taking shape. Species were sharing technology freely, defending each other against threats, exploring together. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts, still problems, but it was better. The On the Moon remained silent, aimed at nothing. The most powerful weapon humanity had ever created, and the greatest achievement wasn't in building it. It was in choosing never to use it for dominance. Earth had fired its first and the galaxy had gone silent. But from that silence, a new voice had emerged. A voice that said all species deserved freedom, trust, and the chance to reach for the stars together. And the galaxy, slowly but surely, was learning to listen.